ain't nobody told me nothing. And I'm glad they didn't. I heard about this book back in 2024 when I was restarting my reading journey, and I knew back then that I wasn't going to be able to handle it. My judgmental self, because yes, I was bougie and elitist, could only take contemporary romance. But my experience reading this book has shown me that I don't have to feel bad for not gravitating towards certain books right away. They will always come back around when I'm ready. And this time, oh baby, I was ready. This review will mainly have minimal spoilers because I really want you to read this if you haven't already, and I want you to have the same journey that I did. The plot twists and the reveals were so. I couldn't have written them better myself, and I really want that experience for you should you choose to read. For the parts of this review where I speak more in depth, I will give a spoiler alert so you can fast forward should you choose not to listen. In the Gray by B.B. Reid is a dark, taboo, age gap romance between our heroine, Atlas, and our antihero, Rowdy. At the start of this standalone, Atlas had just received a mysterious letter anonymously right when she's dealing with the passing of her father and confronted with the infidelity between her boyfriend and her best friend. The letter Atlas receives is the catalyst for this book's events and subsequently sent me on the twistiest roller coaster ride I've ever been on while reading a book. Ever. Now, I'm going to make this disclaimer right now. This dark romance ain't for beginners, okay? There's violence, there's stalking, the age gap is questionable, and the spice is spicing. Atlas and Rowdy literally live in the gray of their relationship, which can be a bit much for certain readers. With that public service announcement, if that sounds like your jam, please keep watching. I got more to say. Neither Atlas or Rowdy are innocent. Both of them can dish it. But there is definitely a power imbalance, and one uses it to their advantage over the other. On that fateful day when Atlas had just applied for a job and was staking out Pride of Kings, the car shop that Rowdy co-owns with his friends, Rock, Golden, and Joran, she gets caught staring by Golden and is approached by him and Rock later that day in a diner down the street. I don't want to say too much, but that confrontation was very scary and very intense. But she did walk away with the job. Okay, period. I guess. Rowdy was obsessed with Atlas from the moment he caught her gawking at him while he was beating up a client in the back alley of Pride of Kings. If I were to describe to you that first interaction between Atlas and Rowdy and how I was low-key feeling it, y'all would think something was wrong with me. So I'm not gonna say anything about it. Just read it. Okay? Just read it. Because in real life, Atlas should have called 911 on Rowdy immediately. Immediately. Anywho, Rowdy couldn't figure out where Atlas came from, and Atlas couldn't figure out why she was sent there, which is the biggest question in this book. So, as feelings are developing between the two, there's stalking, there's extra possessiveness, there's even a little bit of kidnapping, all in the quest to finding out the truth about one another. Bro, the tension between Atlas and Rowdy, page turner. Oh, as I was reading, I was really going back and forth as to whether or not I shipped them. Because coming into the book, I already knew, age gap, dark, taboo. Something's not all the way right here. I really do believe that they are soulmates. But the nature of their relationship, the circumstances in which they came to be a couple, and even the unknown connection between the two of them that we spend the entire book trying to figure out, had me questioning my morals. Because in no way, shape, or form would I condone any of this behavior in real life. But in a book, though, ate it up. I loved how obsessed they were for one another. I love the jealousy. I even love the threats Rowdy made towards the first man who had Atlas, because she was his from the moment he slid. All that to say, their chemistry and attraction for one another literally like radiated off the page. And this is where I was conflicted, because it made me forget certain aspects of their relationship that I should be bothered by, namely their 17-year age gap. But see, the problem is, as much as I tried to remind myself of that fact, I just couldn't help my giddiness for these two and their toxicity. You need a pee. Remember when I mentioned Rowdy and Atlas's first interaction? Yeah, huge red flag. He was very forceful and manipulative, to say the least, which had me wondering how BB Reid was going to make me feel the romance in this dark romance. But have no fear, she found a way. Once Rowdy got going with Atlas, he ain't play about her. Let me give you an example. Early on in the book, Atlas went out on the town and met this female DJ named Ruin, whose house she ended up staying in. It was the end of the work week, and Rowdy decided to throw an office party, and his DJ that he had bailed. So Atlas suggested Ruin come, and when Ruin came, she brought her whole crew. That wasn't the only thing she bought. Turns out, when Atlas stayed over, she left a pair of panties there. Rowdy didn't like the implications of that. Even though nothing happened between Ruin and Atlas, Rowdy wasn't feeling the fact that this woman was bringing his girl, who wasn't his girl yet, panties to his shop and pulling it out in front of everybody. Later on in the scene, when Rowdy's crew and Ruin's crew were getting ready to come to blows, Atlas threw herself in the middle of the crossfire to save her man, again, who is not her man yet. And he ended up kissing her in front of everybody, and he don't kiss women ever, and I just... Anyways, Atlas really should have minded her business, but I support women's rights and I support women's wrongs. The spice in this book is nasty. The scenes were intense, but BB builds them so masterfully that, like, I literally had goosebumps in anticipation. And even when it got to the part of the book where Atlas and Rowdy discovered more about themselves that made it dangerous for them to be together, I still wanted them to do it. Now, what does that say about me? I ain't gonna say nothing else. Just read it. Just read it. I promise you'll have a good time when you do. Y'all. When Jada, Jordan's wife, came to Rowdy's house to tell him that he needed to leave Atlas alone, and he was not hearing it, and she finally had to shout out, "You're your daughter?" I needed an emblem. The reveal of Rowdy and Jada's years-long affair and her confidence that Atlas was Rowdy's and not her husband's, who was her boyfriend at the time, felt like a gut punch. Like all the oxygen was sucked up out my body. Because I'm reading this book having a good time. Reading this man put this girl through the mattress, and you telling me that he's a father? I immediately texted my friend for moral support because I couldn't believe it. And that's what made the reveal so brilliant, because BB was writing breadcrumbs that made me think, okay, this is a possibility, but I was never sure. And so when Jada came through and confirmed it, I about lost my mind. But it wasn't enough for me to put the book down, though. Because one thing I don't do in books or in real life is trust jealous hoes. I needed a DNA test before I believed it. But just the thought of the possibility that Rowdy was romantically involved with his biological daughter sent me for a loop. Child, I needed a fainting couch. Oh, y'all. In the Gray by BB Reid. 5 stars. 5 stars. This book is definitely going to be one of them ones that stay with me, and I'm pretty sure it'll be in the queue for a yearly reread. I loved Rowdy and Atlas together. I don't care. I don't care. And if loving them is wrong, I don't want to be right. That's it for today's review. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. As always, stay blessed.